Hey, Phil.
Hey, Senda.
Hey, Monica.
Hey, Ray.
Do you all want to talk about playtesting?
Is that really necessary? Can't I just write it and publish it?
No.
No.
All right, fine. Cue music. And welcome to another episode of Pandas Talking Games. I'm your host, Phil.
And I am your other host, Senda. And
I'm your other host, Monica.
I'm the other host, Ray.
yes.
Hey, we are queer people speaking with authority about games.
Also, we swear.
I'm mad about it.
You've been warned.
We are explicit.
So if you didn't guess, this is a BXP Pandas crossover episode extravaganza. Margaret, edit in air horns. Wait, Margaret's not editing this.
Margaret's not editing
No.
Senda, quick, edit in air horns.
Damn you. Wah, wah, wah.
Hey, so why don't we just get right into it?
So for tonight's topic, we are going to be talking about playtesting, which of course is something that every game designer should do. And we want to just jump right in. So we're gonna pass this around, and there are four of us. So we're gonna answer these questions maybe a little bit more quickly than we usually do, or we're going to attempt to. So what are some best practices for playtesting your game?
Hey, if you can, get someone else to run it. If you can, obviously that's like time, resources, friends related. And if you can't, play it with people who aren't your home group. The people who you play with all the time have certain expectations. You've got this like already established social contract. You guys know each other really well. And if you are the types that are consistently like homebrewing and house ruling stuff, like my group is, then you already sort of have a sense for like the way that you guys understand rules. So outside perspectives are essential. When you're writing your own thing, you're living in the monkey house, as it were. You cannot sense that it smells like shit, so you have to have somebody else help you out.
Wow.
Also, not to jump in here, but it's also important to be able to write something that someone could run without you there, like standing over their shoulder going, hey, it should be like this. You have to make sure that your writing is clear enough that a total stranger could pick it up and run it.
Absolutely. I also think that when it comes to playtesting, especially early on when everything in the game is brand new, that you really should just focus your playtest. When you're playtesting, you should really only look at one or two parts at a time. Like in the beginning, maybe you're just going to test out skill checks, or you're going to test out your core mechanic or combat. Because if you try to run the playtest and look at like everything all at once, one, it's going to be a lot to take notes on, but two, if one thing is wrong, it kind of, especially early on, it ripples through all the other parts. So you may be looking at problems that are going to either get solved when you fix something foundational about your game, or you're going to be chasing a lot of ghosts. So I tend to, when I start to playtest, I will tell playtesters like, okay, for tonight, really our focus is going to be on skill checks and combat. And if I hand wave anything else during the evening, we're not going to worry about it. I might still take notes, but really for tonight, I really want you guys to focus in on this chunk of the game and, really think about it as we play.
Yeah, right. Also, when looking at these specific use cases, don't forget to allow for testing for edge cases, not just what your game is intended for, but what could be possible with the current rules as you've written them. You should encourage players to find ways to break things, as terrible as that sounds. You want to know where the breakable parts are. So if it's something that needs fixing, you fix it. Or if it's something that isn't really something that bothers you, you can ignore it.
Yeah, or you can just have Jim McClure sit down at your game. He's like the game breaker. Just in my opinion. And so the one other thing that I will add to that, and I believe that this was a tip from, was it Jason Pitt? The UI?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, nod your head. Good. So, which is when you are playtesting and you have materials, people are going to write things down on materials. They're going to take notes on them. They're also going to clarify things that weren't clear to them. And they may, change. Like you can see if they had to squish something in or whatever it is. So when you're playtesting something, collect the playtest materials from those players so that you have that as like a UI test so that you can fix both layout stuff and also you can see what isn't clear about the materials that you're using for the game.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and that comes up a lot if you're playtesting at conventions, because a lot of times people want to take their sheets home with them.
Yeah,
like as souvenirs, but
yeah, and you have to be like, no, give it back.
These are research materials.
Yeah, it's something like Metatopia, which is designed specifically for that. I think you'll find that people are a little bit more okay with like, no, those are research materials. They come back to me. Thank you. You don't get to go take them home and frame them. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, no, actually, Metatopia, I usually find that people are like, do you want this?
Yeah.
I'm taking this with me, but like, do you want this sheet back specifically to me?
Yeah. Do you want this? It has my notes and an excellent drawing of my character. Here you go.
yeah, exactly. And also, I noted right here when I was confused about this, so I wrote a clarifying thing on it or whatever.
And that is my post-Metatopia process. So, after the playtest is done, I open up the folder that I brought the game in, scoop up everything, and shove it back in there, and then, a week later, take it all out and sit and go through every page and kind of look at what was written in the margins. For Hydra Hackers, we found a couple of UI problems on the character sheets. Mm-hmm. Strictly just from how people, had to get around them.
But also bold of you to assume I'll have a finished character sheet by Metatopia.
It is once you have playtest materials to pass out, but it's a really handy thing to have. Anyway.
I was going to say I'm bad because I will, as part of the design process, start designing a character sheet almost like in the early phase. Just because I don't know. It's
fun.
I don't know. I've seen designers who actually write their games in InDesign, which I think is completely savage, but I will just lay things out in the early phase so that it's not just Google Sheets with characters on them or something.
Yeah, I've certainly presented my fair share of, this is a Word document. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, here is the pertinent text.
Yep.
How about being a participant in a playtest? So, let's talk about how to give good feedback and not be a dick.
Yeah. I think feedback should be 3 things, basically. Actionable, constructive, and kind, which really covers the don't be a dick part.
Yeah.
Don't just tell people it sucked and leave it at that. That's super not helpful. And it's hurtful. Nobody wants to hear that their stuff sucked. Even if it did.
Find a nice way to say it.
Yeah, find a nice way to say it. Or be, be actionable and be constructive. So if something sucked, you need to identify why, and then something they can do about it. On the flip side, it was fun is like that Dipper meme. Wow. This is worthless.
Worthless. That's the worst. Just, I liked it, or it was fun. It's
fun,
I really need more from you here.
Yeah, great. I already know I'm a good GM. Of course it was fun.
Right, yeah, we're not testing my ability to run a game.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew you would like it.
Yeah,
I need more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I would say the other thing, and this comes from my background of having managed software teams and testers, is that when you're giving your critique, don't tell the designer how to redesign the game to fix it. So tell the designer what didn't work, what the play experience was at the table, but don't be like, if you use D12s instead of D10s in your dice pool, you would get X, Y, and Z, because one, it's the designer's job to kind of come up with how they want to solve it, but in it also, the designer is aware of how all the other parts of the game interconnect. And so while it may seem very simple, like, change the D10 to the D12, there's a ripple effect of all the other things that would be impacted. And the designer may not want to go down that route. So I often will leave my feedback as, I play tested this, and I think that I feel like combat was a little clunky, or the latency, like the time it took to get from turn to turn in combat was really long. And I don't know if maybe you want to speed that up, that kind of thing. But I never design for the designer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. I have on my outline that I slightly disagree, but it turns out that I don't actually.
I was waiting for you to disagree.
Well, so hearing you talk it out, I don't actually agree, but I am going to, I guess, give this as an example of what I think is actionable feedback. So, if if the problem is that, like, hey, the combat turn is taking too long, and you're playing the test and you realize that, like, steps 4 and 5 of this 10 steps of combat resolution are causing the slowdown because they're redundant or overly complex, it's good to make a note and call that the designer's attention to that during feedback. But by that token, don't just boss the designer around, which is basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the problem, you can say something like, hey, I noticed that there was some confusion happening during steps 4 and 5 of action resolution that caused the slowdown. Maybe consider rolling them into step 2. That might help resolve the problem, which is not designing for the designer, but pointing out that you, especially if you are also a designer with your area of expertise, recognize this is the bug in the code.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Right
here is a
this.
potential solution. This right here is causing your slowdown. Sometimes people who are playtesters, especially at something like Metatopia, whose job is not writing games, can put their finger on what's wrong, but can't diagnose the problem. And so someone at the table will go, combat's too slow, but they can't put their finger on it. And then the designer is like, everyone was confused by steps 4 and 5 because they're basically the same thing. And you're repeating yourself. Or like, I think this is redundant. I think it's safe to eliminate these 3 steps or whatever. And that's the sort of feedback that I try to give when I'm in high tests and whatnot. And like, that's identifying a system's breakdown. That's not going into someone's game where they're playing a unique spellcasting card mechanic and going, you should write this in Fate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I definitely...
Which I've received that feedback before, too.
Wow, this is worthless.
So helpful. So helpful.
Wow, this is worthless. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm especially, I guess maybe I'm especially aware of it. Like, I try very hard not to say to somebody, like, well, actually, what you should be doing here.
So you're
right?
trying not to mansplain is what you're saying.
Yes, like, so much not that, right? Like, it's...
Honestly, thank you for, like, being so aware of that and trying not to do it. Yeah. Like, that's so great.
It's inescapable. It is the tightrope of providing like the right feedback without like trying to swoop in and be like, well, let me show you what's, you know. And so I'm happy if somebody wants to ask me a follow-up question. Like if I say like, oh, combat seems really slow in this phase or whatever. And they say, well, what do you think that might be? I'm like, oh, well, by all means, let me, here's my take on it. But I try never to offer all of, everything all at once.
It's interesting that you brought up you used to manage software engineers, software testing, because I thought when like reading your notes on the outline, like, oh, this sounds like someone who's like done QA for like video games and stuff. Because I did it like really, really briefly. I did a little bit of QA for video gaming, and it was kind of similar. Like not so much try to suggest how to solve the problem as it is talk about what you expected and what actually happened, like in your bug report, so to speak. So in your feedback, like explain, I thought it would be more like this, or I expected combat to be faster, or I expected combat to feel this way, but instead it felt like this, or it felt a little slow. But also remember, like, just general feedback etiquette applies here. Like if you were giving feedback on like art or someone's writing, do your best to point out what works or feels great as often as you point out what works or doesn't feel so good. Like don't just bring like, okay, here's all my problems with it. Don't be afraid to also tell them, hey, and also like combat feels amazing. Like the characters feel so powerful and blah blah blah. Like, that goes in with the, don't be a dick, but designers also want to know what they're doing well on top of what needs to be fixed.
Yeah, that was my comment too, is one of the things that, I don't always use it. I do see people use it, and I think that it's a pretty good way to kind of steer people into that specific type of feedback where you get positive and negative is roses and thorns, right? So you can say, hey, we're going to do feedback now. Like as the person running the game, you can hand it to them like this so that they give you both the good and the bad, right? Like let's do roses and thorns. I want to go around in here from everyone. What is one rose? Like what's one good thing that you liked that you thought was working well? And what's one thorn, like one problem that you think that I need to look into, right? I'm not always totally on board with that exact phrasing, because then you really only give people the opportunity to give you one of each. And they might want to give you more, but it's like a good starting point, because you can also lay out as the person running the game exactly what kind of feedback you're kind of expecting in return. And then as a person playing the game, whether the person running the game, writing the game, asks for that kind of feedback or not. It's really one of those things about constructive criticism in general is that it's constructive, right? Like, so that's key. and then it always helps to also hear that not everything that you're doing is terrible, right? Like,
Yeah.
because we're human and we all will tend to fixate on like, everybody loved my game entirely except that everyone hates this one little thing and that's all they talk about is like this one time that this silly thing happened. But like, that's all the comments that I got was all this terrible stuff about, this one NPC or something like. And that doesn't feel good because we'll fixate on that and then we'll try to fix a bunch of things that don't actually need to be fixed because everything else was great, but nobody said it. They just said that this one part over here sucked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be really discouraging too.
Extremely. We're all podcasters and we do game stuff and we all know that artistic validation is like key to being upbeat and like begging for reviews. I'm sorry, what? Okay.
What? You do that? You guys do that at the end of the show.
Yeah. I was jumping.
You're early.
Yeah, I'm early.
I've also heard of the roses and thorns thing called the sandwich method, and roses and thorns is so much more poetic.
Yeah, right? Sandwich implies like bread and like mayo and like cold cuts or something.
You good, bad, good.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but who puts the bad stuff in the middle,
of their sandwich?
It's not a perfect analogy, okay?
Who's making these gross sandwiches?
The mayo would make it all slimy, like...
Hey, Ray, speaking of gross sandwiches...
What? Huh?
Speaking of gross sandwiches, how about we go to the mid-episode break room?
What? Oh no, is Marguerite eating peanut butter and onion sandwiches again?
Oh my gosh, that's gross.
Margaret has the night off.
Yeah, let's go to the break room.
Okay. BXP and Pandas are all part of the Misdirected Mark Network.
Woohoo.
Hey, can we get Senda's permission to invade the lounge to go take this break?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they have like...
Okay, cool.
I'm just...
Doc won't mind.
Yeah, I have executive privilege. Oh no, I have royal privilege here, yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay, she said it was fine, so, you brought that up in the last episode, whether or not we could invade the lounge to take our break.
Oh, okay, so now who breaks it to them? Like, is there a memo?
Well, I think we just show up, and then if Doc has a problem, we're like, well, Senda said it was okay, and you can't dispute it, so...
By royal decree.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny that that's a thing.
I have to do some housekeeping? Is that what I see here on my chore list?
A little bit.
What's this housekeeping?
Housekeeping. Yeah. Hey, just a reminder that we have our Patreon coming in March. Become a patron and get bonus episodes. And if you give us, if you hit one of our goals, an actual play.
Yeah. The actual plays on the goal list.
We got a bunch of pretty cool goals. Our first goal will be paying for Zencaster. I forgot what our second goal is. We're going to eventually do an actual play. We're going to release more bonus content.
I think this is all out of order, but it's fine.
Yep.
There's lots of really cool stuff coming on the goal list.
We got a bunch of really cool shit planned.
Including a line of merchandise.
Yes, including a new line of merchandise because our actual line of merch is already out.
Oh.
Our logo merch is out.
You're talking about the new stuff that's like the birthday surprise.
Oh,
yes,
I'm so excited. It looks so good.
I have seen it also, and I'm very excited for it.
I'm so excited for it.
But you can currently go to our website.
bxpcast.com/bxp swag?
Yes, BXP swag.
So what game are you going to play for an actual play?
Oh god, I don't know yet, actually.
We discussed Uranium Chef.
Yes, I found a Fate supplement on DriveThruRPG called Uranium Chef, which is a sci-fi competitive cooking show Fate supplement that even has rules for like rivalries and like one-on-one confessional scenes, and it looked pretty out there. But
it sounds like
I love that stuff.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great one-shot material, because I think our first AP is going to be a one-shot.
Yeah.
We're probably going to do a couple of those, and because if it's going to be a campaign, then that's going to be up to me and that's going to take a good bit of work, which is why we're making you pay for it. As always, you guys can buy us coffee or our products via the How to Give Us Money page on bxpcast.com.
Thank you.
Thank you and bye.
Is that it? Yeah. Well, okay, I'm getting out of here.
All right. Yep,
It
let's go.
stinks.
Back to the show.
Smells like peanut butter and onions.
Ugh.
Gross. Sorry, Doc.
Margaret's got some issues. So we've talked about giving feedback, so let's talk about graciously receiving feedback.
Oh, man, I always say thank you, or at least try to remember to say thank you. Even when I disagree, and even when I'm low-key cooking at a low boil. And it's really easy to make me, I get het up real easy. And in face-to-face playtests, like at Metatopia, I try to avoid outright having an argument, unless I'm shooting down a suggestion outright, because it doesn't jive with what my goals are. As previously stated, it's really okay to do something like, if I'm designing my own system and someone says just make it in Fate, it is perfectly fine to be like, I am not interested in doing a hack of another system.
Right.
Like, if someone brings that up, it is perfectly fine for you as a playtester to be like, thank you, but no.
Not the goal here.
Yeah, I think not enough people shoot down that, like, that's not my goal here. And, like, I think that's a really good thing to do.
Boundaries.
Yes. But if you don't hate the idea of doing a Fate version, it is also fine to say, like, hey, I'll consider that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of politely accepting commentary and then just venting my spleen in private later. I do this all the time with my professional red lines. I've been complimented on how well I take criticism from my industry peers, but they don't get to hear the rage-filled profanity vented to the privacy of my own home. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is, if you are a professional writer or, if you have to have someone else checking your work and you have to get their feedback, and sometimes you're just like, why are you mad about this one word? It is a perfectly acceptable word. It's fine in context. I don't know why you're picking at it. The rest of the sentence is fine.
I sense
Why are you
some history.
Why are you criticizing this rule? It works out just fine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Fine, I'll
don't
fix it.
deliver that rage on the people giving you the feedback.
No, it's perfectly fine to
Deliver it to
scream into
your
the void.
significant other, to your unrelated friend, to your cat.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I dovetail right onto that, because I will say, like, accept all feedback graciously, but you're not, even if you accept it, you're not obligated to actually make any of those fixes. So ultimately you're the designer, and sometimes you may get legitimate feedback about a part of your game, and the person who's giving it to you is absolutely right, but that was a design decision you made about the game. And you don't want to fix it. Like, you're not obligated to go fix that. You can just simply look at it and say, they're absolutely right. If I change that, it would make combat more chandelier swinging, but I'm totally not going for chandelier swinging in this combat, so I'm just not going to make this change.
Ooh, I have a brilliant example of this that just happened to me on Saturday. So I had a lovely gal called Becky Ennison on to run her new game on, she's a super geek, called Bite Me, and it's like werewolves and feelings, and I really like it, you guys. And what happened at the very end of the game is that one of my guests, Ryan Macklin, turned to her and he said, is there a reason that you put these moves at the very end of your sheet when they're the things that you told us at the beginning of the game were the most important? And she said, yes, because the sheet is actually in order that I expect you to approximately use the moves. Like, you have to do the moves on the first page before you can do the ones on that second page, even though they're kind of the focus of the game. And we were like, oh yeah, cool, that makes sense, right? So like, she had made a very intentional decision about it, even though at first blush we were like, that's funny, you hid them on the back, but they're the really important ones. And then in play, it made perfect sense because we did have to use the ones on the front of the page before we could use the ones on the back of the page, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my example.
No, that's good stuff.
That was an example of graciously taking feedback and then being like, yeah, this is why I made the decision. And all of us being like, oh yeah, cool, that really makes sense.
Yeah, it's important to understand that, like everybody's saying, thank people for their feedback, thank people for their time, especially because regardless of if, whether what they provided is really just sparkling perfect, ideal, useful, and not, wow, this is worthless. they still took the time and effort to actually like play test your game. So thank them for their time, thank them for their feedback. You don't have to pay attention to any of it if none of it is useful. I'd hope you'd pay attention to some of it, otherwise I don't know why you're playtesting. But, you don't have to really take any of it if it turns out that, oh shoot, the playtest wasn't quite focused on what I needed and I didn't really get the data that would have been useful for me. And, don't feel bad if it ends up being that a playtest was kind of a bust, because then at least you can focus in, like, okay, well, next session I know exactly what to do because I shouldn't do what I just did. I don't know if any of that makes sense. I'm kind of...
No, that does make perfect sense, because the thing is, you always learn something,
Yes.
even if the thing that you learned was, this isn't how I get the playtest feedback that I need, you still learned something from running the game.
Right.
So you still got playtest results, even if it wasn't from feedback.
Right.
Yeah, and this kind of goes to the same thing I said at the top of the show, where I said sometimes it's good to focus people and say where you want your feedback for that evening, because you might know that a part of the game is kind of really messy and kind of a train wreck, but you haven't gotten over there to fix it yet. So by just telling people, like, I don't actually need any feedback about the chase system because the chase system's a disaster. I already know it is. Like, just we're going to do a chase and it's going to be kind of messy and I'm just going to hand wave it at some point, but
Ignore it.
I don't need
Ignore
any
me.
Right, I don't need any feedback there. I know that part's broken, right?
Right.
It helps because then it focuses people in to give you the feedback where you want it the most.
Right. Do we have any other last comments about playtesting, giving feedback or receiving feedback?
I mean, it's good. You should do it.
You should do
don't
it,
be afraid
yeah.
of it. Yeah, don't be afraid of it. Don't hide from it. It's not always fun. It's not always enjoyable, but it is valuable and it absolutely will change. It will change your game.
Yes. Yeah, agree.
It's absolutely necessary.
One of the things that I do when I'm testing, it's also really helpful to have someone with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like having someone there to catch when I automatically correct to fix a rule. And sometimes I don't catch myself doing it. And when I do catch it, I'm like, oh, I just literally made up something better, and I'm going to write it down. Like, oh, shit, I just literally redesigned that rule because I didn't like how the rule I just wrote worked in play. And sometimes I'll just patch it on the fly and not catch it, and then if I have somebody there to be like, you said you, like, roll 2 dice and take the lower, but in the moment you actually change that to, like, a +2. Because people didn't get it, so...
Say bonus experience. Where do people find you on the internet?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for asking, Phil. Can I call you Phil?
Yeah.
You can find us on Twitter at bonusexpcast. You can also find our website, bxpcast.com. If you want to just talk to me, because I'm really cool, I'm on Twitter at Ray_Cole.
If you want to talk to me because I am constantly bored at work, I am at Zenith Sun.
I'm not actually that cool. I don't know why I said that. You can email us, too, if you want. Monica will read it. That's bonusexpcast@gmail.com.
That's also where you can shoot us a message if you want to be interviewed on our show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it, though.
That's it.
I think that really is it.
That really is it.
Now
And
can I
that's
do
where
it?
we normally say, yes, tell us to get out.
You can
Everybody get out!
You can tell us to, but I'm not leaving yet because we haven't ended our show yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. You guys, okay. Will you get the lights on the way out?
Yes.
Yep.
Unlock the
Absolutely.
door? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Senda, before we head into the closing of the show, tell us about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network.
Yeah, on Down with D&D, Chris and the Mad Wizard Sean Merwin dish about everything D&D with a focus on the brand and newest edition of the world's most popular tabletop RPG.
Yes. So, say, Senda, where can people reach us on the internets?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at Pandas.Games. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Pandas.Games. You can find us in the Misdirected Mark Google Plus community for question
Right.
mark longer.
Everyone,
Oh, no.
you can't find our Tumblr account anymore.
Tumblr's gone because it was all panda
that got-
porn.
Yeah.
Oh, they got you in the purge, huh?
They got us in the purge. They were like, oh, panda porn, that counts too. Or you can drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com. And Phil, once they find us in one of those places or manage to write that email address down frantically in the middle of traffic, what can they do with that information?
Please, please, please send us your topics. You think we have plenty, but trust me when I tell you that we can never have too many topics
He's
for
fickle.
us to potentially pick from.
Fickle.
There's no rhyme or reason to how we pick topics. I just go through the list and randomly pick one each week. So you may get yours right away, or it may be years before I do one of your topics. But one way or another, we'll get to them maybe before the show goes off the air. Maybe. I don't know.
You're so
but send them
reassured
anyway.
tonight.
Yeah, send them anyway. We love them. Senda, what's the other thing we love people to do with our social media information?
Well, you can send us your table selfies. So the next time you are sitting down at a table with those awesome peeps to play an awesome game, take a picture of you playing said game and hashtag it table selfie and post it on the social media of your choice, except I'll probably only find it if it's on Twitter. I mean, let's just be honest at this point.
Let's just be honest, right? If you want us to find it, put it on Twitter.
Put it on
If you put it
Twitter.
anywhere else.
I mean,
Right.
we'll try.
We'll try. Right. We won't try hard. So
Right.
put it on Twitter.
You know.
If you like what we do here elsewhere on the Misdirected Mark Network, you can always support our Patreon campaign. Go to patreon.com/MMP. Patrons of the show get all sorts of cool things. The bonus outtakes from this show,
Oh, boy.
the after show from Misdirected Mark,
Also,
which is like the red light district of
Misdirected
of
Mark shows.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Yep. You get show notes. You get access to the Slack room for life. You can jump on our awesome Minecraft server where Bob, Schmitty, and I are kind of hanging out every day. And occasionally Encoded Designs just gives you stuff, books and games and stuff like that. You know, just remember, patrons received Mark's half-eaten hamburger LARP before anyone else did.
I know. That's the shit right there.
Straight up, man. Straight up. Say, Senda, what's the other thing people can do if they're already supporting the Patreon or unable to support the Patreon, which of course is perfectly fine, that makes us happy, like Pandas drunk on bamboo rolling down a hill?
Well, you can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice. Every new review we get really actually does help new people find the show. The only funny thing is if you don't leave it in the US iTunes store, we probably won't see it. So you should probably tell us you left it so that we can read it and have a sense of marvelous and enlightening artistic validation that makes us glow. Like glowing pandas? I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Glowing
I
pandas would be
glow.
cool. Okay.
I'd glow if I could.
All right. Well, Phil, show me how you're going to be playtesting Long Live the Queen next.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Show me what you got. Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got.
This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs.
Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got. Hey, show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Clicky.
Oh, like
Yay.
clicky. Yeah.
Clicky.
See, everybody can say clicky.
That's
And
fun.
we'll have a shared click experience.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's click.
Yeah, like that.
Okay, thank you.
Ba-da, da-da, 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 da-da.
So for a while there, Phil was watching Cowboy Bebop because he hadn't seen it yet.
Cowboy B-boy?
Yeah, the words didn't come out of my mouth quite
No,
all the way.
it's fine. I love you.
But you knew what I meant.
I
right?
knew what you meant. So he was watching
He
Cowboy
was
Bebop.
watching Kuba Boo Boo.
Yeah.
And so like every time we started the show, that was what played in my head for several months.
Uh-huh.
That's
It
good.
was pretty funny.
That's a
Yeah.
good energy to start a podcast with.
I feel like we all have to discuss our selection of fizzy water this evening.
Oh, yes, good.
All right.
Okay.
Because
You go first because you're very excited.
well, so this evening I am drinking a Spindrift grapefruit, which is sparkling water with a real squeezed fruit in it, and I
Yes.
like it quite a bit.
It's got a little,
but I like
got a little pulp to it, right? It's got a little chew.
maybe just a tiny bit, but it's but I only really like the citrusy ones. I don't really like the raspberry is weird. It just tastes like really watery juice.
Ugh. Yeah, that would be kind of weird, huh? Yeah, I've only had
Yeah,
the
it's kinda
citrusy
weird.
ones. They're like the lime is very. I love it.
The citrusy ones are delightful. They also make a sparkling iced tea.
I saw at Target they had an Arnold Palmer Spindrift, and I nearly
Yes.
lost my mind. That's my favorite
It is-
thing.
It's very tasty. It's not at all sweet, and it's very tasty. My son thought that he was going to get a sweet Arnold Palmer that was fizzy.
Oh no!
And instead he got an unsweetened iced tea with lemon in it.
Life is
and-
pain, child.
Yes. And I got to drink all of them, and they were fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
tell
cool.
tell us about tonight's vintage.
All right. I was waiting for the background noises to leave.
Oh,
the
should I
room.
go?
So no, he's gone. I have a grocery store brand seltzer.
Yes. Good. Well done.
What's the name of
Yes.
it, though? Does it have one of those kooky, like, not
No,
Dr. Pepper
it's
names?
just it's just Weiss quality seltzer.
Bummer.
Sorry.
I am currently enjoying
it's raspberry flavored.
a tangerine La Croix.
Yes.
My second favorite flavor of La Croix.
What is your first favorite flavor?
I love me some key lime. And when you told me
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, the secret is that they put
The
vanilla
vanilla.
in there, it blew my mind. I was like, that is it! Oh my god, you're like a wizard! Like a sparkling water wizard.
Phil, tell us what you're drinking, even though it's not fizzy,
Yeah, I'm
so you
just
won't
drinking
burp.
tea tonight. Like it's cold down here. It's too cold for anything that came from the fridge. Like I needed something that came out of the Keurig. So
Yeah.
I've got a black tea.
All right.
Black
Classic.
tea. No,
McClure temp yet?
yeah, it's English breakfast. It's English breakfast. English breakfast with a half a teaspoon of sugar. That's it.
No cream.
Twinings English
Oh.
breakfast. Nah.
You're a serious man. Oh, you got to keep those vocal cords nice and
Right.
limber. Yeah.
Yeah. We're professionals.
Professionals.
There's like an order of operations.
There's some ritual involved in the show.
All right.
That's required.
All right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, our ritual is just 15 straight minutes of bullshit, and then one of us goes, "Welcome to bonus experience," and the episode
Just
starts.
without warning,
Literally, that's
yeah.
how it goes. One of us yells it, and then the show starts.
I love it.
That's actually a pretty genius way to do it. We've been trying to keep our bullshit at the beginning of the episode under 10 minutes.
Oh God, we're at 6 minutes though. We're good. We got time.
we're cool.
Yeah,
We're cool.
yeah.
We're totally
literally
cool.
have four more.
Yeah.
Well, like that's why we're getting to the meowing part.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
so let's.
you have an actual.
Get to
time
the
frame.
meowing
Okay.
already.
Yeah.
Okay,
Promise.
okay,
And
I'm,
deliver.
meowing,
I'm
right?
gonna meow. Are
Right.
we ready? Okay.
I feel like a lot of pressure. I
mean-
have to meow in front of other people now.
I know. I'm kind of feeling embarrassed about our
So
meows.
do you do like a kitten meow? Do you do like a Siamese, like row, like that really throaty?
We've done all of them. Actually,
really
good.
depends
Okay.
on the
Does
mood.
anyone
yeah.
have a request for cat sounds?
I mean, I feel like you should just go with whatever instinctually takes you once you've got,
Okay.
the input of the first couple
Let
of
the
meows.
spirit
It's a
move
yes
you.
and
Oh, it's a
meow.
yes, Am. Okay. All right.
This is the most interesting show opener.
I'm
we have to
feeling it.
explain. Do you want to even explain where it came from?
I know. I like the
can.
mystery.
Okay, well we'll just
Okay,
leave
we'll
it
just do it. Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. It's yeah.
It was freezing. Now it's hot in here, and I'm going to take a sweatshirt off. So excuse me while I take my shirt off. Hold on.
All right, take your shirt off and then we'll meow.
Oh, hold up. Where's my video feed?
You don't have a video feed.
I don't have a.
You
no,
haven't.
I don't have a camera. No, I'm watching Monica take her shirt off.
Oh.
I'm gonna put another layer on.
Yeah,
Reverse
You
strip
just-
poker.
put your
Put
hood
more
up.
clothes on, please.
Yeah, now we
Still-
have Darth
yeah, still
Philip.
going.
Okay. I was talking.
This is like full. This is like full
This-
emperor. Like
good.
Full Emperor
Death
Vecchione.
Stars operation.
Let your anger turn to meows.
I took my shirt off, and Phil has just become a chin.
It's cold. It's cold.
Okay.
All right.
Meow.
Okay.
Meow. Meow.
Okay, let's do this thing.
Okay.
I'm going to burp. Hang on.
Wait, should I be recording?
Are you not recording?
No, I'm just fucking
Why-
with you. I'm sorry.
Why would you do that to me, Ray?
Hilarious.
I'm sorry.
Give me a heart
That's great.
attack. Such cruelty.
I just felt like really wasting more time here.
Hey, Phil.
Hey, Senda.
Raise your line.
Oh, it's
You're
Oh, that's so on brand. Let's do it again. This is how it happens.
Monica was gonna do it.
That's scripted. It's literally
You
scripted.
just follow the lines. It's
Sorry,
It's okay. You're just playing the role of Senda this evening.
my bad.
do
Do,
do
do.
Senda, this is where the music goes when you edit this episode.
I'm pretty sure I know by now.
Right?
I know, right?
I got this. Ready? Awesome. All right, cool.
We
We're all here.
did it.
We did it. We did it. We made it.
We got through
made
the
it
intro.
through the intro.
It's all smooth sailing from here, guys.
It's an accomplishment. I'm really proud of all
So,
of you.
Senda, tell us about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network.
Oh, I just burped really loudly.
That was the raspberry.
Yeah.
Sparkling.
So, okay.
Phil is shaking his head just like he does at me. Carry on.
But as I tweeted, because autocorrect got the better of me, she will eventually be free in the office.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
She will be.
I meant to say she will eventually be back in the office, but that's not what
She
autocorrect
will be released
said.
into the office. She will be free to torment us once again. That's my youngest's favorite sandwich is peanut butter and onions. I have no idea how he got the idea or why, like who has done this to my boy, but he loves peanut butter onion
Who hurt
sandwiches.
him?
I
Gross.
see, but I can so I can tell you're a parent because you're like, but he'll eat it, so I'm going to feed it to him. Like,
Straight up. You love it? Fine, I'll make it. Just put it in your face. You need nutrition. If you don't eat, I go to jail. Please eat this.
just eat this. You're gonna eat this? Fine, whatever.
Just eat.
Just please eat it.
I was picturing that as like cooked onions,
Ooh.
and I was like, well,
You toast the
that's
bread.
not-
It's okay. I'm gonna step you through this because I've lived it, and
All
it's
right.
horrifying. You toast the bread. You put peanut butter on both pieces of bread. Excuse me.
Smooth.
I'm
Wow,
sorry.
way to go.
That was my
Smooth-
LaCroix.
No, you're not.
Sparkling
smooth.
water.
Smooth peanut butter,
on
not
both
chunky.
sides of
okay.
toasted bread.
All right, just had to check
And
how much
then-
how much of a little Satan
Wait,
your child is.
I'm not done. Then you put
Okay.
a layer of mayonnaise on top of that
What?
peanut
What?
butter.
You
And then-
buried the lead.
And then you put slices of raw onion on there. And then you put it together as a sandwich and you hand it to my youngest child and he goes, "Ooh, thanks." And he eats it in like 3 minutes.
That is
Whoa.
really gross.
It's incredible.
The
He's
mayo-
a goblin.
The mayo made it, if it was possible to make this sandwich worse.
Mayo, yeah.
You just did, because mayo and peanut butter is not an experience that I
All right,
ever
you
want to
said
have.
you said a
He
peanut butter
loves
and
them.
onion sandwich.
I know.
Not a PBMO.
I don't know what to tell you, man. That's just what they're called, and that's just what's on them. Don't shoot the messenger, please. I've already lived
Wow.
through enough torture having to make them and then watch him eat them with glee.
Oh God, there's pictures of it. Oh man, it's a
No,
okay.
no,
It's a
no.
thing.
Why are you?
It's-
Why did
yeah.
you do that?
It's exactly what it says on the tin.
See, now Phil's looking it up. I was going to say we have one more question left.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I
No,
told you.
there are
Phil,
no
off
more
topic.
questions. There were only
At
peanut
the-
butter onion sandwiches.
Apparently. Phil, come back. Come back from the rabbit hole. Come back.
All right,
Oh, the
I'm
sound of
backing
our
out.
voices.
I'm closing this tab. Okay. I can't
Think about
unsee that.
Bon Me.
I can't unsee that now.
They're actually not that bad. I tried a bite of one, and the texture's kind of weird, but it works. I can't
Mhm.
explain it. It works.
Weird.
Just pulling an example, a bad example out of my butt.
Put it back
Yeah,
in your
no.
butt.
So okay. That's the end of that thought. It just petered right out. Whoop. Okay.
Well,
I'm sorry.
put
I
it back in your butt, and
What?
we'll just. On that note,
Aw. I got mean.
Can we kick people out of the show that's not just our show?
No, you made me do
Yeah.
the get out
Yeah.
part before we
I
do
did.
the where to find us part.
Oh,
that's
shit.
Your outline's all out of order. How could you do this to me?
You know,
Let
Okay,
that fix it.
Maybe
Try
if you
again.
worked on the outline sometimes.
I
wouldn't be
worked
out of
on the
order.
outline. You can see the little R's. I was there. I lived it.
Unlike me.
You can find us on Twitter at BXP.
BXPcast.com.
It's not. No, I'm talking about Twitter.
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 I thought you said-
BXPcast.com hashtag bonus.
Bonus EXPcast. Will you put Margaret back in her box?
She can't be free in the office yet.
I mean, can I keep her? Somebody needs to edit on this show.
Boy, you can keep her if you want to, but I don't know that you want to.
She lives on a very strict diet of mimosas and peanut butter and onion
Sandwiches, and those farts are awful.
Oh,
Wow.
Margaret.
Put it back in your butt. Just
But-
Show me what you got.
Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Show me what you got.
Show me what you got.
And
That's how we end the show.
The actual music's so much better.
It's much better. It's all like fun. Although the music video is really weird.
The music video is really strange.
Really strange. There's some like conspiracy theories about the music video at this point. I think Rob has one about there being like a D20 or like polyhedral dice in the rearview mirror of the truck when she appears as a ghost. I don't know.
That's
Gotta
weird.
look into that stuff. It's weird,
definitely
right?
weird.
Sort of
Yeah.
fun
It's
It's
song,
definitely
though.
weird.
My
It's
file is pushing 59 and a half minutes.
Yep.
right.
Mine
Yeah.
too.
Big.
We're like rocked it out. We like nailed the timing.
Oh, okay,
Like,
good.
Super good.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Under an hour.
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
If we all push stop in the next like 25 seconds.
I know. Could
Should
be
I push
tricky.
stop?
Could be tricky.
Okay.
I don't
Push-
know.
Ready?
Should
Stop,
we?
Say
stop
goodbye.
saying anything.
I'm gonna say bye. Okay.
Bye.
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 Stop.
And stop.